Black Lives Matter is cancer. We all know it. This isn't new information. You know, I'm Captain Bloody Obvious with that, but they've gone a bit quiet lately. You don't hear much from them anymore. Their 15 minutes of fame seem to be dwindling away. However, all they've done is migrated across the pond to the UK, as they reared their ugly heads in London last week, along with a host of other anti-racist campaigns and organisations, all as loathsome as each other, who were jumping on the back of a recent event, hoping to further their own political agendas. As always, Black Lives Matter riots in London, police and public attacked. Rashan Charles' death, Hackney protest turns violent. Angry protesters challenge police over the death of Rashan Charles. Who's Rashan Charles? What's going on here? Let's get into it. A 20-year-old man has died after being apprehended by a police officer in an East London shop. The Met Police said the man, named by his family as Rashan Jermaine Charles, was followed on foot after officers tried to stop a car in Kingsland Road, Hackney. Mr. Charles was taken ill after trying to swallow an object and was pronounced dead in hospital, police said. The Independent Police Complaints Commission is investigating. And yes, this man was black. Footage apparently showing the incident has been shared on social media, along with the hashtag #JusticeForRash. The film, recorded by a security camera, shows Mr. Charles entering a shop pursued by a uniformed police officer. In the footage, there is a struggle on the floor and Mr. Charles appears to put his hand to his mouth. I think the best thing for us to do is to watch this footage and decide for ourselves exactly what happened. Don't you agree?
Security camera video of the incident, which has been shared widely on social media and has provoked a lot of comment. In that footage you can see a uniformed police officer struggling with a young man on the floor. The young man appears to put something in his mouth. At one stage another man gets involved in the struggle, presumably a plainclothes police officer. The young man is face down, he's handcuffed with his hands behind his back. The man became ill and unfortunately he died in hospital a short time later. And now the investigation was taken over very quickly by the Independent Police Complaints Commission. They say they've seized a lot of video footage from the store here. There's about 15 security cameras in there. They have body-worn video footage from the officers concerned. They have statements from independent witnesses who were there.
So that's the CCTV footage, or the only one that's been made available to the public at this time. And according to the reporter, there are at least 15 cameras in that building that will presumably show exactly what happened from a multitude of angles. There's also the body camera that the police officer would have been wearing, and the case is being sent to an investigatory body. So whatever happened to this guy, whatever caused his death, I'm not going to speculate too much because the investigation is ongoing, but it did look to me, and I'm going by the footage I've just seen, it did look like he put something in his mouth as he was lying on the floor while he was struggling with the police officer. If these were drugs, he might have had an overdose, or he could have just choked on whatever it was, who knows, right? I'm sure the investigation will turn up every answer we need. But Black Lives Matter don't like investigations. They don't like them at all. Because Molotov cocktails, fireworks and bottles have been hurled at police during a Black Lives Matter riot in East London following the death of an alleged drug dealer, so they didn't even wait for the investigation to finish before they had a reaction. A violent reaction, which is typical of them. Let's be fair. Scotland Yard said the officer intervened and sought to prevent the man from harming himself. I'm presuming they're talking about the guy shoving something in his mouth. And you can see in the footage that the officer does go straight for the man's mouth after he sees what looks like the man putting something in it. A force medic provided first aid at the scene before London Ambulance Service paramedics arrived. Mr. Charles was taken to the Royal London Hospital in East London and pronounced dead at 2:55. So the police have their story, it's been sent to an investigation, but since people in this country have no respect for the law, have no respect for an investigatory process, the proper way things should be done, people were on the streets protesting this immediately. Approximately 150 people, some with placards bearing the words Black Lives Matter, gathered outside Stoke Newington police station on Monday evening. The crowd chanted, "No justice, no peace," as each speaker took to the microphone. I'm going to give Black Lives Matter some advice right now, okay? If you want to be taken seriously, guys, listen to me. If you want to be taken seriously, stop chanting stuff like no justice, no peace. Do I have to explain to you why? Seriously, come on. No justice, no peace. It sounds like you're holding the state to ransom. If you don't give us the justice we want, we'll riot, we'll be violent, we'll cause trouble. And let me just evaluate their use of the word justice. Let's say hypothetically the police investigation concluded that the police did nothing wrong, that it was an accident, that the guy choked on his own drugs or whatever the hell it was. Whatever he shoved in his mouth, it got lodged in his throat and he died of choking, whatever. That wouldn't be justice for these people, because that doesn't fit with their narrative. That isn't what they want to hear. What they want to hear is the police are racist fascists and we should overthrow them. That's what they want to hear. The justice they want is violence, is civil disobedience, civil unrest. The truth doesn't really matter to them that much, as is shown in America with several cases that Black Lives Matter have been up in arms about. Several of those high-profile cases, I'm talking about the Michael Brown one specifically, turned out to be completely justified on the side of the police. But that doesn't matter. The truth doesn't matter. Maha, is that how you say her name? A 25-year-old student who attended the protest with a friend said, "It seems like if we don't nip this in the bud and if we don't get justice, then people will think they can get away with it. Not just the police, it's a whole racist mentality, and if the police can do it, then civilians will think they can do it. It's important we raise as much awareness as possible." Maha, you're a retard. You're implying that the civilian population as a collective are just waiting for any opportunity to lynch you. To lynch black people in the streets and hang them from lampposts. Is that what you really think? What are you raising awareness of? From the information I can find online, this guy was known to the police. There are reports that say he was a drug dealer.
Despite the fact that they're saying he's a drugs dealer, whatever the situation, he didn't need to be a dead drugs dealer today.
So are you raising awareness of the police apprehending someone that is wanted to them? Would you rather that didn't happen? Would you rather he was just let go because he's black? That's what you want, really, isn't it? You just give him a free pass. The police don't understand the youth, bruv. Another woman, 24, who did not want to be named, said, "I just think it's sad. We got through the civil rights movement. We're supposed to be equal. And it's not just black people. It's about all the races. Anyone of colour, Muslims, anyone who is poor, they're being failed." I understand why this woman didn't want to be named because she's a retard as well, but let's read this. We're supposed to be equal. You are equal. Prove to me and everyone that you aren't equal in modern British society and you'll have our ears. But you can't prove that because it's not true. You are equal. It's not just black people, it's about all of the races. Anyone of colour, Muslims, anyone who is poor. First of all, Muslims aren't a race. I can't believe I still have to say that. Anyone of colour? Okay, where's white people in this? It's about all of the races except for white people, it looks like. This is just broad left-wing protest talking points that you're spewing out of your mouth. It's verbal diarrhea. The vigil was organised by Stand Up to Racism. Love those guys. And campaigners said they were enormously concerned and angered over his death. The investigation is ongoing. It hasn't concluded anything. But what's really interesting is the next part. The victim's family distanced themselves from the protest. Pauline Pierce, a friend of the Charles family, said in a statement, "The parents, the family have requested we keep calm. There are many organisations out there that are jumping on the bandwagon, running and organising these police protests at the station. This is nothing to do with the family. It has no authorisation from the family." And that's about the truest thing I've read all day. All these groups, Stand Up to Racism, people like that, these loathsome groups who are just waiting desperately for something like this to happen so they can run down with their placards and their bullhorns and rile up a crowd of young idiots who'll believe anything. The police are racist, society's racist, we're living in a colonialist society, blah, 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 shit. They don't care about the guy who died. They don't care. None of them do. They're using this to further their own political agendas. They always do this. And of course the Guardian eats it all up. Don't call them riots. That dismisses the anger over Rashan Charles' death. By Franklin Addo. The disturbances in northeast London are a reflection of long-standing frustration over police conduct towards people of colour. It's the same old narrative that we've heard a million times before. They can't get any new talking points, these guys, can they? Same old shit. This made me laugh though. Franklin Addo is a youth worker, journalist, and rapper from Hackney. Of course he is. Of course he is. He's probably using this opportunity to give his mixtape to everyone. But yes, let's not call them riots, even though that's what they are. Let's not call it violent, even though that's what it is. I've got some footage for us to watch. Let's analyse, shall we?
We don't need it.
So the police are standing here quite politely, I have to say, getting things hurled at them. This is probably after a long night of disturbances, shall we say. Casually dodging glass bottles and whatever else has been hoyed at them. Look at this guy. Look at him. What are you gonna do, mate? Look at that stance. Look at fists clenched. Crazy eyes. A death stare. This guy's just hoping and praying that there's a photographer nearby so he can get his moment in the sun. So perhaps a picture of him can be posted on all these Black Lives Matter left-wing protesty websites with the caption, "This is the face of the resistance," and all that bollocks. You know what I'm talking about. Hoping and praying. Silly old man. Now this pisses me off because the police are retreating here. They're faced with a group, and then it's not that big a group to be honest, of hoodlums of scum, throwing things at them, causing damage, you know, and they're backing off. The police are what are you doing? I don't understand. Go into the crowd and enforce the law. They're attacking you, these people. They intend to do you harm, and you're backing away. You're retreating. I'm sure the people who live down that street are over the moon that you've decided to back off and leave, letting them deal with these people.
Spin that shit. Spin it. I let you escape with your life this time. This time.
I'll let you escape with your lives this time. Look at the disrespect that the police are facing here. All the police getting in their vans, turning around and going away, while these people just run amok, doing whatever the hell they please, insulting them, throwing things at them. No punishment. No consequences. Nothing.
Rashan was murdered by police. On the other side, like it's not their business. Well, we've got to stop saying that and acting like that. But every time you see a black youth or anyone else being arrested by these police, intervene. Intervene.
That guy there, shouting at the top of his lungs on the microphone. Whenever you see a black youth being arrested by the police, intervene. Intervene. What if that black youth is being arrested for committing a serious crime, mate? Are you still gonna intervene? Are you still gonna intervene, attack the police and free the guy? Is that what's gonna happen? What are you gonna do? Because in their minds, if a black person is getting arrested, then that black person must be innocent and the police must be racist. That's the only possible explanation.
We are seeking justice.
Look at the sign behind this guy. The police killed Rashan Charles, but who got him killed is the British government. We want justice, no peace. Now aside from being awfully written, I mean it's barely understandable, they're not just blaming the police, they're blaming the government. So I'm assuming the government's racist now too. It's not Black Lives Matter, this is an anti-West parade, you know it.
Who killed Rashan?
You get the idea of this protest, don't you? Did you hear what they were chanting? Who killed Rashan? The police killed Rashan. No justice, no peace, fuck the police. Wow, this is really going to garner sympathy for your movement, isn't it? You idiots. I wonder what the average IQ in this crowd is. But again, the police that are marching with these people are getting insulted to their faces. Being called murderers, being called racist, being called fascists, you name it. And they have to put up with it, they have to take it. They're escorting these protesters through their legal right to protest, by the way. It's legal. I'm not disputing that. It's wrong, it's stupid, it's incorrect. It's flaring up racial tensions for no reason whatsoever. But it's legal. And the police are taking all of that abuse to make sure the protest goes ahead. No respect. Absolutely no respect for these guys. Cambridge student claims all white people are racist in tweets supporting Rashan Charles protests. This is gold. Jason Osamidi Okendai, for God's sake, who runs the university's Black and Minority Ethnic Society. Why does anyone need one of those societies? What good does that society do at the university? What use does a society like that have to exist, really? Took to Twitter after the protest of the death of Rashan Charles. A series of tweets praised the protesters and claimed that white people had colonised Dalston, a once working class area in the borough of Hackney. No, Jason, let me explain to you how this works, okay? Because that may be the dumbest thing I've ever read. Ever. White people have colonised Dalston, have they? Dalston is in Hackney. Hackney is in London, London is in England, England is in the United Kingdom, and the United Kingdom is a majority white nation. I'm sorry to break it to you, mate. I really am. But white people can't colonise their own land. And you're at Cambridge. Cambridge! Here's his tweet here. All white people are racist. White middle class, white working class, white men, white women, white gays, white children, they can all get it. He then said that white people should go back to areas such as Exeter and Solihull, presumed to mean Solihull in Birmingham. He then urged protesters to smash everything. Incitement to riot, maybe? Commenting on his social media posts, I'll just call him Jason. Jason said, "My tweet about all white people being racist was pulled out of context and separate to my tweets in support of the Dalston protests." Can't wait to hear this explanation. "My tweets on white racism had been said before, in response to people acting as if racism is exclusive to working class people. I stated that regardless of sexuality, class, gender or age, all white people are racist, i.e. not just one type of white person." Yeah, that sounds really out of context. And the reference to "get it" refers to my previous tweets on how all demographics of whiteness can and should be called out for their racism and how it specifically manifests in their groups, e.g. white middle class people refusing to hire black people, or white gay men stating "no blacks, no Asians" on dating apps such as Grindr. Well, Jason, admittedly I don't spend much time on Grindr, unlike you apparently, but I don't think having a sexual preference is racism. I don't think people can help what they're attracted to. But I tell you what, I'll sleep well knowing that your Grindr profile isn't prejudice. Well, except to white people presumably, but you know, whatever. Who am I to judge? Can you see why this ridiculous movement is causing so many problems? It's brainwashing people, black people, into thinking that they're a target of the state, when they're not. If you're being watched by police, if you're getting arrested by police, not all the time, not 100% of the time, I admit, but usually there's a reason for that. Usually you may have, I don't know, done something wrong, perhaps. For you to march through the streets with megaphones and shout that the police are racist and murderers, that the government are sanctioning the police to murder black people, and no justice, no peace, fuck the police. Well, what can I say? You're only gonna make things harder for yourselves. You people are scum. But we knew that already. What really concerns me is the weakness of our police force. There has to come a time when these groups are no longer tolerated. Because they can walk down the street and do whatever the hell they want and nothing will happen to them. Even if they're attacking police. This is ridiculous. And it must change. So no, Black Lives Matter isn't dead yet. And I think in terms of race relations, as long as we have shit stirrers like these guys, this is only the beginning and things are going to get worse. Thank you very much for watching once again, everybody. I'm closing in on 25,000 subscribers. I can't thank you enough. My channel's only been around for about 7 months or so. As always, mega props to my patrons. Without you guys, I don't think I'd be able to dedicate as much time as I can to making content. Please consider donating to my Patreon account. I appreciate every penny that I receive, and I enjoy making content for you, and that helps me do it. My link to my Patreon is in the description below, as well as my Facebook, Minds, Twitter, social media, all that sort of stuff. My Discord server as well. Check them all out, they're all a good time. Alright chaps, adios.